of others. So the essential criterion is whether the adduced facts are sufficiently influential. It doesn't matter that they're coherent, consistent, have some logical sequence such to lead us to a logical, reasonable conclusion. No, none of that. It's just whether or not I said something in such a way that will influence you. And this is close to rhetoric a little bit, you know. But when you listen to the politicians in Washington, don't you find this to be the case? I mean, how many really truthful statements do you hear from our politicians? I mean, objectively true. You know, they're throwing out they're emoting in rapid succession and stating things because they're trying to influence the population. Now that's just the textbook definition of politics, hence a politician. How will this play in the body politic? You know, how will this particular, you know, and they'll have focus groups and all these things. They'll say, we want to test this out a little bit. We want to test this word, this phrase, this expression, this idea. Let's see how it flies. Not whether or not it's factually true or not whether or not it's best for, let's say, the people, and I'm not trying to be cynical here, but politicians do this all the time. They employ this emotivist kind of sense of, will this be sufficiently influential? You know, what will be most influential, either tearing down my opponent or building up my particular point of view. Now, this is why we always find great discontinuity between what a politician promises in the campaign and what a politician delivers once they're in office. But we ordinarily suppose that reason should be relevant to the cognitive content of, remember, the cognitivist and non-cognitivist, you know, point of view. And so we suppose that these reasons should be relevant to the cognitive content of moral judgment. You should give me reasons, and then these reasons should give a full accounting as to why this behavior is approved and why this behavior is to be prohibited. Moreover, we normally make a clear distinction between influencing someone's attitudes and showing, that is, by providing reasons that a claim is true, a distinction that emotivism simply cannot make. It's something about goodness and badness, but emotivists cannot legitimately claim that anything is good or bad because these properties do not exist on emotivism. So to declare that something is good is just to express positive emotions. I like vanilla ice cream, something like that. And so this is how they do morality. It's just like I like vanilla ice cream is not to be a universal statement of fact that everyone must like it as well. It's just a personal preference. So we could say that pain is bad, but badness or goodness is not a feature of pain. In other words, it's not inherently that way because of some objective standard that states that it is so. So our saying that pain is bad is just an expression of our unfavorable attitude about pain. So that's what emotivists do. They say morality is nothing more than you expressing your attitude about something. It is not to be universalized such that what you're stating is objectively true and other people should also follow suit. That is, unless you've influenced them sufficiently to your particular point of view. So suppose a 6-year-old girl is living out in some small village in Iraq during the brutal reign of Saddam Hussein. Saddam's henchmen firebombed the village, destroying it, incinerating everyone except the girl, who is burned from head to toe and endures excruciating pain for 3 days before she dies. I suppose that we're deeply moved by this tragedy as we consider her unimaginable suffering, and we remark how horrible the little girl's suffering was such a very bad thing. And when we say something like this, we ordinarily mean that the girl's suffering had a certain moral property that the suffering was indeed objectively bad. I wanted to say objectionally, objectively bad. But according to emotivism, her suffering had no moral properties at all. And when we comment on the girl's suffering, we are simply expressing our feelings. The suffering itself was neither good or bad. But this view of things seems implausible. Plausible. Do people really behave this way? They certainly articulate this point of view, but our moral experience suggests that some things, in fact, are bad, and some are good. This is just native to human nature, to have this moral objectivity and this moral, to find certain things morally reprehensible. And the question is, how do you describe that in you when that happens? Do you describe it in terms of pure subjectivity? Is it just preference? Is it just your own personal point of view? Or is there such a thing as objective moral outrage, because there are such things as objective moral facts? Certainly that would be the Christian worldview. So emotivism, when first presented, has some plausibility, but when this is balanced against the implied implausibility of setting down as meaningless every suggestion that good or evil events have ever occurred, it is outweighed enormously. I'm just citing philosopher Blanchard. This is 1892 to 1987. So anyway, just throwing some new terms out there: subjectivism, objectivism, relativism, in emotivism, and grab a hold of the concepts a little bit. So we have one more on the foundational aspect of this, which will have to do with moral reasoning, or how we develop moral arguments.